Hey, good evening, everybody. Took a bit of a break here, and I'm still working on that book, trying to get that finished, hopefully in the next week or two. It's been kind of a long process, and I've been up about 20 hours today, and I'm just trying to get this project closed up. But yeah, there's a bit of the manuscript right there. I'm still working on that, and hopefully we're getting to the end. I would hope so, because I don't know, these books, they do take a lot of work, because every sentence has to be accurate. All right, let's take a look at the weather and see what's going on, and let me check my levels. I think the levels are looking good. Maybe a little bit hot. Let me bring that down a little bit. Okay. There's the weather map for today. This is the potential temperature. Looks like for the most part a lot of the isotopes are pretty far apart. Maybe a little bit packed there in Colorado, but for the most part we're kind of under ridging. And we see calm winds in Tennessee and Kentucky there. So that kind of outlines exactly where the high is. It does look like we have a little bit of a gradient up there in South Dakota through Montana. So possibly a front through that area. And there could be another little boundary in the Great Basin area, somewhere right in here. So that kind of starts us off right there. We can take a look at the thickness chart and look at that a little bit more. East-west gradient through the U.S. Not particularly packed anywhere, mostly because of high pressure spreading apart the gradients. Looks like maybe a little bit of a front right there in New Mexico and Arizona, the Four Corners area. But offshore, we've got a couple of weather systems. We have one right here off the coast of Newfoundland. And we see the thickness lines really wrapped up in that. So this is pretty easy to analyze. So that's going to be the cold front right there. And there is our warm front. So the main area of baroclinicity is right there. That's the triple point. And then we have an occluded front which extends all the way back into that low right there. So that's what's happening with that system. And then we have another one along the Pacific coast right here. So there's that next front coming on shore, or will be coming on shore eventually. However, looks like the main warm front gradient is probably pretty far to the north, something like that, most likely. But down to the south, that looks like where we have a little bit of temperature gradient. So what we're going to wait for is for this cold front to pick that up right there. So that could be what we're going to see with that next system. All right, let me see. I'm trying to figure out where to go, because we've got pretty fair weather for today. I guess we can take a look down in the Texas area. Let me get this map lined up here. Okay, so this is the temperature and the isobars. So the map for right now is looking about like that right there. Looks like a little bit of a mesoscale low up there in northwest Oklahoma. Got a cold front associated with that, and possibly a warm front extending down to Oklahoma City like that. So kind of a weak frontal wave there in Oklahoma and Kansas. For central Texas, we've got kind of a recirculated southerly flow. So not much flow off the Gulf. This is the Gulf right here. Maybe some air coming into the San Antonio and Austin area, but up north, a little bit cooler there. So we have Temperatures right around 62, 63. We're down to 59. And let's see what's going to happen over the next day or so. Looks like that front is going to push south through Lubbock and Altus. So there's daybreak right there. Front coming into the Red River region. And then during the day tomorrow, looks like we have a cold front pushing all the way into the Dallas, Waco, and San Angelo area. So this is, let me back this up here. Yeah, that's going to be about 1 p.m. So another little push of cold air coming south. Temperatures in the 50s up there in Oklahoma City. And then for tomorrow night, this is going to be the pre-dawn hours. 50s, upper 50s, so kind of mild. And then up in Oklahoma, temperatures in the 30s up there in the north part of that region. So a little bit of a reinforcing shot of cold air coming south and northerly components throughout the southern plains. But one thing that you do notice is out there in the Rockies, you can see the backside of that cold air mass right there. So that's the cold front pushing all the way up into the higher terrain. And to the west of there, very warm conditions around Las Cruces, Albuquerque, almost close to 60 there, but on the other side there in Amarillo, only about 50 degrees. Elsewhere around the country, let's start out in the eastern U.S. There's the northeast U.S., and current conditions looking like that right there. High pressure. Cold with 20s and 30s. And so obviously over the next couple days we're going to see southerly flow redevelop as this high moves off into the Atlantic. And there it goes. Southerly flow redeveloping for tomorrow. And then for tomorrow night around the time of the webcast. Looks like a little bit of a maybe push of reinforcing shot of cold air coming from Maine right there. So that's kind of breaking up the southerly flow a bit. Yeah, that's interesting right there. We go from during the morning southerly flow to an easterly flow later during the day. So probably a little bit of anticyclogenesis there. Down in the Florida area, let's check that out. Current conditions looking like that. Northerly flow right there. Cool high up there in the Carolinas. And temperatures in the 70s there in Florida. And not much change over the next day or so. Just continued northerly flow. And we've got high pressure up there in the north part of the map. 1028 millibar line way up here, so just kind of a cool pattern there for the southeast U.S. For the central U.S., let's see, probably a little bit more complex there. Conditions right now looking like that right there. Highest pressure way up there up north, that's where the cold air is going to be coming from. And then during the overnight hours into tomorrow, you can see that cold air coming all the way down to Omaha, down to Denver. And then we get a very fast warm-up. Some of the southerly flow coming up the backside of that high. So there's that southerly flow up in the high plains, and temperatures all the way up to about 50 around Denver. Okay, then for the southwest U.S., probably pretty quiet there, but we know that there is kind of a front through the Four Corners area. Don't really see it there, but the flow around Las Vegas there, light and variable. And there you can see higher pressure building in through the Great Basin area. Let me run that one more time. Okay, now we're going forward. So you see that high pressure building in tomorrow night. So that's kind of a cool pattern there for the Great Basin area. Warm during the day and cold at night. And flow starting to come around to the south up there along the California coast, but otherwise pretty quiet. And the San Joaquin Valley, southerly flow, so we've got kind of a warm pattern. And then for the northwest U.S., they've really got that clipped up near the top of that chart. Let's see here. We're mostly dominated by the Great Basin High and a cold high there in the northern plains. And not much change over the next 48 hours, just kind of a cold pattern there. Very cool weather in the deserts, the northern deserts. And there we see it looks like a little bit of a weather system off the coast of Washington there. Flow coming around to the south. And that's kind of like the mesoscale look at what's happening around the country. There's the satellite picture right there. Showing looks like probably a little upper level disturbance there moving over Missouri. And underneath we can see a little bit of low clouds. See that over Kansas there. Very hard to make out, but that's probably a little bit of stratocumulus right there over the central U.S. There's the water vapor imagery for right now. Shows a pretty good plume of moisture coming up from Texas all the way up to Arkansas. So why don't we take a look at the air mass over that region. Obviously there's moisture there. So we'll go to Fort Worth. And there's the evening sounding for Fort Worth. It's got the look of a frontal inversion. Probably topped out right there at about 8,000 feet. Some pretty good moisture underneath it. And above that, little layer of dry air, but above that, up at about 20 to 30,000 feet, lots of moist air. So that's some of the tropical air at the higher altitudes flowing over Fort Worth there. We'll try Springfield. More upper level moisture there. And you can see that frontal inversion topping out at about 700 millibars. So if we look at the 800 millibar, the 850 millibar chart, we're going to be cutting into that cold air mass there. And the winds are going to be out of the south. So we're going to expect to find ridging off to the east. So basically it's going to look like this here. There's the 850 millibar chart. So there's the high off to the east. So we have the flow around to the south, but this is all cool air. It looks like the front is still way down to the south, somewhere around Texas. So let's see if we can find that. I'm going to go down to Shreveport and see what the sounding looks like. Looks like a little bit of a little bit of an inversion and kind of a complicated pattern there. It looks like we have one cold air mass topping out right there at about 14,000 feet. And possibly another cool air mass below that. Let me go to Norman. Yep, another little inversion right there. This has more of the look of a subsidence inversion. And let me go all the way down to Del Rio. Yep, another inversion right there. And let me try Corpus Christi. I'm going to keep going south there. And now I think we're starting to pick up some of the tropical air there. Let me go down to Brownsville. Yeah, Brownsville there, definitely tropical. Very moist air all the way up to about 9,000 feet, and above that, some dry conditions there. So it looks like the warm front at 850 millibars is somewhere probably around this area right here. Now, if we had a little bit of a upper air disturbance approaching the area, that could be significant right there. That would be especially down at the surface, which would be a little bit further to the south. That would be a possible area for severe weather. But for tonight, pretty quiet. So let me take a look at the chat here and see what we got going on. Kind of a quiet night here. Let's see. Sue M is here, and Mr. Manlet, Fun with Tech, Electric Dog. I got Ron Chalfont and Fun with Tech saying, yes, a little discussion about the book. Yeah, it's just kind of an ongoing thing, very time-consuming. One day past Fitzgerald anniversary, hoping for special. Yeah, there was no way I was able to do that. It's going to have to wait till this book's over with. 34 degrees there in northern Illinois. Burl H with us and Justin Pulliam. Talking about the sunset there. Mike R. says, welcome back. Thank you. Good evening from a brisk eastern North Carolina from Derek Seymour there. Mr. Manlet seeing some buffering. Yeah, I'm seeing some buffering or something going on. See that live stream there? I've got a yellow here. I don't know what's going on. Something may be eating up my bandwidth here. Mike R. seeing a very normal late fall pattern there in California. Weak systems passing through a few days. Much bigger event coming up possibly, yeah. Ryan Toomey's low 70s there in Florida. Steady east wind off the Atlantic. Will there be an Edmund Fitzgerald hindcast? I don't really know yet. It depends on the timing there. No tropical developments. Yep, things are pretty quiet out in the Atlantic. Carl Burkhoff is stuck in the 20s in Wisconsin. Justin Pulliam saw the military distinctions. Yeah, thank you. Mentioning the Veterans Day thing. And thank you, Carl Burkhoff. Ron Chalfont saying, click the like button. And I think, I think my buffering is cleared up. And Ron Chalfont says, good to have you back. Been missing your broadcast. Hope to see the book soon. And yeah, I hope to see it myself too. It's, I'm ready for that to be done. Okay, so we've got a pretty quiet evening, and I've probably got to get back to work here soon, so I'll probably go ahead and segue into the forecast. If I can find it here. There we go. So the GFS forecast, let's check that out. You can see we're pretty much dominated by high pressure there over the northeast U.S. The high covering this entire area here. New polar high coming in from the Dakotas, covering this area right here. A little bit of a cyclogenesis there in Texas. As we pointed out, that weak front kind of in this area right there. And then pretty quiet out in the Great Basin area. A little bit of a weak front through that area also. So over the next week or the next day or so, we end up seeing this new high pressure coming out of the Dakotas, and you can see that becomes a little bit more dominant there. Kind of taken over from what we had in the northeast U.S. there, that old high. That's on its way out, and this one is on its way in. And there's that new front pushing south. However, things start to get active there on the west coast. Then for Monday, not a whole lot of change, but there's that high right there over the Great Basin area. Very deep southerly flow across the plains. However, the Gulf is not open. You can see there along the Gulf Coast we have kind of like a northeasterly flow there. Things are getting active there in Washington. You can see a low pressure area right there. Looks like the main frontal systems are all the way down in California, though. This looks to be like more of an occluded low. And then for Tuesday, not much change, just kind of stormy there around Seattle and Portland. Southerly flow in Texas, and it looks like the Gulf starts to open up a little bit right there. However, we have a new system on its way south. And there it is. There's that new weather system. So that's going to be pushing into the central and Midwest region. And there it goes. For Wednesday, new cold front pushing into Ohio, Indiana, down to Missouri there. Pretty good cold air advection, but this is heading mostly to the southeast. Things starting to get stormy there on the west coast. And then for Thursday, looks like that system is starting to cross the Rockies right there. And as it approaches the front range right there, lots of pressure falls. And the Gulf is starting to open up a little bit, so things are going to be getting active towards the end of the week. And you can see right here, looks like the system emerges late Thursday into Friday. Very active weather system, and with the Gulf being open, could see a little bit of a thunderstorm potential there in the western Midwest. And there it goes. Very powerful weather system coming in through the Midwest on Friday. And then for Saturday, lots of cold air advection in the eastern U.S. There's that high right there bringing in a lot of the cold air. And then for Sunday and Monday, pretty quiet. The next system comes on shore there for Monday and Tuesday. And then things are active mostly up in the northern plains and into the Great Lakes there. Looks pretty mild down in the southern U.S. And then one good shot coming in for the 25th. And then GFS going for a very good push of cold air. They're on the 26th through the 27th. So there's a big 1044 millibar high, bringing the 540 line all the way down to Kansas and possibly down to the Red River. And that gets to the end of the forecast period. Okay, so that's probably about all I got for tonight. Let me take one last look at the chat. Yeah, a little suggestion there for the April 3rd 74 outbreak. Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon. Ryan watching the Miami and Notre Dame game right now. Plenty of clients at the game. Perfect weather. And that's going to do it for me. So I better get back to work on the book. The sooner I get that done, the better things. The sooner things will be back to normal. And maybe I can get my sleep schedule back to normal also. So anyway, let me get my levels down. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Take care.